What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. This is the first stream of this week and I'm feeling particularly positive. I have no idea why. Maybe I had a lot of ice cream over the weekend. But anyway, so welcome back to my live stream. If you don't know who I am, my name is Cheng. I'm a professional photographer, filmmaker, and an Olympus ambassador. If you're new to this stream, this is all about photography, filmmaking, and anything to do with camera gear in general, but more specifically Micro Four Third and of course Olympus. Yes, it's excellent to be back. I'm happy to be back. In fact, actually, the light's a little bit dim. You know why? Because our summer has suddenly disappeared since last week, and the weather has turned cold, windy, drizzly. You know, it feels like our typical British weather has returned. All the Californian sun, they just vanished. Okay, so we do have a really cool topics to discuss today. Is something that I guess is a little bit controversial, is debatable, is subjective. It just you know, it's just depending on you. But I just want to bring it to this discussion here simply because image quality, right, is something that we discuss over and over and over again, and it's still like a big debate, you know, whether there's a few elements right here, right? You know, is the bigger format have better quality? Is higher resolution give you better quality? Is better light give you better image quality? Is better lenses give you better image quality? You know, it's a lot of variables there, and then people always just mix them all up together, and especially those who don't really, first of all, appreciate photography as an art form. Second, the people who don't make a living from photography, for instance, you know, they are purely listening to either online reviewers, either through marketing advertisements. You know, there are lots of things going on there to give you the illusion of what image quality really is. It came to my attention yesterday, and over the weekend I watched one of the YouTube videos. Just came across through suggestions. I clicked onto it because again, you know, this is a very common thing. I'm pretty sure you have seen some of these before. They're comparing image quality across the current available formats in the digital world, such as medium format, full frame, which is 135, APS-C, and then Micro Four Third. And you know, no surprise, you know, the highest score rating would be the medium format. They're raving about how good the medium format in terms of image quality is. Then subsequently worked down the scales, and Micro Four Third being the worst, and the camera that they were using was the GH5. And so to me, when I was watching that video, that come to me two things straight away from at least from the comments that they were making. They were saying, oh, the image quality coming out from the medium format sensor is way superior than the lesser format, and by means of resolutions, or how sharp you can see the little details on the print. Yes, by the way, yes, they are doing print comparison, not screen comparison, which is actually to me is a more fairer comparison, because it's always better to judge it on the print than actually through the digital screen. Good morning, Trevor. Good morning, Ralph. Good morning, Mark and Vicky. Cool, got some good familiar faces here. So, like this video that I saw, and I was a little bit shocked, judging from, you know, supposedly the experience in photography, and you know, they were actually talking about image quality relating to resolutions. First of all, they were commenting how much sharper, how much more you can see from the print from the medium format Hasselblad. And but the thing is, they were comparing a 40 or 50 megapixel sensor and a 20 megapixel sensor printing big. Okay, first there are two things here. You can never compete oranges and apples, right? You know, we talked about this. You know, you cannot compare with a 40, 50 megapixel to a 20 megapixel. There is a substantial differences in terms of detail. You know, that's physics. You know, you got more pixel, you got more details, right? But you know, you're viewing from a large print at close range. That really isn't a comparison. It's not a fair comparison. You know, there are straightaway differences. If you're comparing a medium format or full frame has the same megapixel count as a Micro Four Third, that is more appropriate in terms of image quality comparison, because I don't think you're comparing one is already smaller in numbers and the bigger number. You aren't really comparing it fairly to start with. And second, in terms of tonalities and also the actual range of colors that can be captured. Right. To a certain extent, yes, I do believe the medium format has better capabilities of absorbing light, because if you have a 50 megapixels on a medium format sensor, which is physically larger than a 50 megapixels in a full frame or any other format, if one day if Micro Four go up to 30, 40 megapixels, even you have the same megapixel count, because the micro lenses and the pixels are a lot larger compared to the smaller format, you will absorb more light. Hence, you have possibility of higher tonality range that can be captured from the actual lens, and then subsequently more information to the sensors, and your file will become richer in details. So this is fine. I mean, I accept that. But the only thing that I didn't really like that when they talk about overall discussions, and then they really not being objective here. They are really comparing something that simply don't exist in smaller formats. I'm not just talking about Micro Four Thirds, but even APS-C or full frame. They are raving about the medium format, and that's it. So in that case, I don't think it's a fair comparison. And so this is something that kind of triggered me why I want to talk about image quality today. Okay, good afternoon, Burana. Good morning, Brad. Excellent, everybody's here. So I'm going to show you some pictures here, and why I'm thinking that, why I should have this particular topic today. So, as you all know, that I used to shoot Leica, and then also now I'm an exclusive Micro Four Thirds guy. I mean, I still have my Leica camera. Why would I want to chuck away a 10 grand camera, right? I won't do that. That would be silly. So I have that. I still use it for testing gear. If you haven't seen my latest YouTube video, I was reviewing a Leica lenses because Lau was sending me one, so I just want to review it using my Leica camera. But the whole thing was still filmed with Olympus, so I haven't distanced myself from Olympus, of course. The whole entire episode was filmed using the EM1X. You can see the autofocus really amazing, just phenomenal. Anyway, just go back to the discussion right here. So this is a more fair comparison, because why I would say that though, this is a Leica M240, which has a 24 megapixel sensor. Okay, it's still slightly higher than the Micro Four Thirds sensor, which currently tops out at 20 megapixel on the EM1 Mark III and the Mark II. Okay, but in terms of details and actual comparison of the image quality, I think it's slightly fairer in that case, simply because in terms of megapixel count, it's very similar. So I won't see in terms of details there are any differences there. And just at least from the prints that I do, I do print let's say wedding albums, so they are usually 10 by 14. So I print them that big, and then and when I look through the photo between the Leica and the Micro Four Thirds, I seriously cannot see the difference there at all in terms of sharpness, micro contrast, the actual detail being printed, transferred to actual physical paper. There are no differences whatsoever. In terms of noise level, and also, to my surprise as well, there isn't any difference either. In fact, I actually do think that Olympus has a slight upper hand in this particular case. Perhaps it was the Leica sensor technology. I know there are differences overall. Sony may be slightly better in lower light or shadow details, and the Canon will be slightly better in the highlights. That kind of thing. But overall, I actually think that these two full frame and a Micro Four Thirds sensor compare very well against each other. I don't see any differences between the two formats. And this is what I want to tell you guys. You don't try to compare a 60, 100 megapixel sensor to a 20 megapixel sensor in terms of image quality, or you trying to talk about resolution. That's fine, but that doesn't represent image quality. And this is what is today's topic. So I would say that if you go out and take some photos every single day, and the difference between a high tonality photos and a slightly low tonality photo, it may not actually make much of a difference if you use it on a daily basis on the street, for instance. What it will make the difference is when you go out and start shooting in landscape photography or something that has a high tonal change in the frame, such as highlighted shadow and a very high contrast scenes. But having said that, I mentioned that before. If you do this type of photography in landscape, you're most likely going to use gradual filters and all the others to help. You really shouldn't relying on the dynamic range that the sensor is capable of capturing and to resolve your pictures, because ultimately you really still don't want to push the shadow up too much or pull the highlight back from the top. You will lose something, and ultimately it just don't look natural. It doesn't look that good. If you are really good at what you're doing, trust me, you still do the old-fashioned way, having gradual filters, having something like that to take high contrast scenes like that, or you just choose the time when the contrast is not as high as midday afternoon. And this particular is sunrise, and so the scene is fairly even here. So like in this particular case, I didn't even need to use a filter because the highlight is just not bright at all. You can easily have a very even scene here, and you just have to expose kind of midway to the actual mountain at the far end, and that's why I meter it, center weight meter it, and just average it out. And it's a very simple way to do it, and a result very good, very nice. And there's another one here, and I'll just show you. This is also captured with the original EM5 Mark I camera, and as you can see, perfectly fine, perfect nice. And in fact, I showed it to a lot of people. They thought it was a Leica camera, and just because at the time I was still using Leica, but that shows, in just overall image quality, is how pleasing an image being presented to the client, and how much you can see as a frame through whatever medium you choose to display. Not so much of technical numbers and things like that. Is just not the way to talk about image quality. And also, it's very subjective. And now Vicky did mention that, it's very subjective. It's not something that you can easily say, one is better than the other, or this one has much better image quality than this brand here, or this lens over that lens. It's very difficult to actually discuss what it is. So what I would normally say is I would look at the final print, the final results. If a camera combined with a certain lens can produce a certain print, and I would say that's a good combination that can produce a really good high quality image photograph. And otherwise, it's not going to be easy just to isolate a certain thing. You can use the same lens on a different body these days. It's quite easy through an adapter, or they make a different mount for a different brand. So it's quite hard to say whether this lens is really good. But isolated cases, you might use it on a very bad body, and then somehow it just doesn't come out. You might just say, oh, it's not as good as what you advertise, not as good as what everybody else say. It may be your camera. It may just even be you're just wrongly exposed a shot. That's another thing that I want to talk about, is your skills. So even though you may be given a top-of-the-range camera, supposedly having the highest image quality, so the marketing people tell you, or have the best lens in the world, you put them all together, but the image coming out from it is still rubbish. There could be many reasons, because technically you may have the best stuff, but then you can't execute. You couldn't choose the composition. You choose the wrong light, for instance, and then you just doesn't come across well. Because listen to me, if you have a lot of cases, sharpness is solely depending on the light, because light is what crafting the actual contrast, and contrast will give you the sharpness. It will give you the perceived sharpness in the shot. So a lot of the things that you see, let's say on the magazines and things like that, when you have a photograph that's being done in the studio, you always see them a lot higher sharpness, because they use strobes, they use other things, not just about megapixels, but they use light to shape the subjects. And because they have enough light to actually craft the lines, let's say eyelashes, and everything like that, that requires a lot of contrast. And in that case, light is a critical moment there. That's why when you see people who shoot stuff out on the street, for instance, just give you an example here, and shots like this, and if going outside, you take a photograph of a subject, you less likely to get the same sharpness, even though you may have the same megapixels compared to a studio shot, because studio is just blast through a very strong light there, and then and the darkness and the contrast being shaped by the actual light source itself. On the outside, for instance, you get less of that. You know, the light, okay, it may be strong from the sun, but if you want to capture something slightly softer, you will either wait for an overcast day, you will use maybe a diffuser of some sort, or you blast off some sort of filler lights. And in that case, you won't get the same effect, and resulting the image slightly less sharp compared to a studio shot. So this is something that you have to kind of judge. If you're experienced enough, you know what photography is, you have to try different environments, you understand. But if you don't, you always say that, oh man, it's not all that, it just doesn't give me that. So this is something that people may not actually appreciate in terms of image quality. And I'll give you another shot. Remember this shot? You know, like we looked at this a few weeks ago now, and this is not my shot. And as one of us here to actually send it to me as someone displayed it. This is taken with a 1-inch RX100 camera. So if you look at this shot here, you know, can you actually imagine this being shot from a 1-inch sensor, a small point-and-shoot camera? Probably not. You know, if I don't tell you, you know, you might actually think it's shot a much bigger format. And this is all because of the light, and also because of the actual execution of being a photographer, executing the right moments, having the right atmosphere and the right emotion from all the other people there. This is important. Then that's why I always say, you know, like it's better for you to enhance your skill sets and also enhance your eyes and heart towards photography than more focus on, you know, camera gears specifically. You will need them eventually. Don't get me wrong, you will need higher grade gears once you get to that point of starting to appreciate what they are and what they can give you as a photographer. You know, there are so many people these days, they simply cannot execute the shot from what I see anyway, and they need to work on it. And you know, it's fun. You know, don't get me wrong. You know, this is a hobby. If this is your hobby, and if you can afford it, and by all means, you go and afford buy lenses that you like and things like that. Either this is not. I'm not really trying to discourage you in any way for doing so. Whatever makes you happy, and this is something that you should continue. You know, and but simply because I work in this field and I do. I do this for a living, so that I just need to somehow say something to a lot of the people, especially online these days, when I see on YouTube when other people are talking about image quality, and then and they sometimes it doesn't come across to me that they really truly appreciate or understand the meaning of image quality, so to speak. They might be able to talk technically how many lines can be resolved. You know, they're looking at test charts and things like that. They're also looking at the camera capability, dynamic range. You know, oh, this sensor gives you better image quality because of such and such. But you know, if you look at a lot of the cases, you know, if you you know, you guys all know, you know, you've seen enough examples out there. A really great photographer can execute using a very primitive or even shit cameras on the market. You give them a toy camera, they can still make the shot. And that shows how much a photographer he or she really is when they starting to appreciate what a camera can give them. And then once you reach that point, you know, it doesn't take long to get to that point. Once you practice and practice and practice, you will slowly actually understand, oh, I do need that light to do this shot. You know, I do need, you know, this kind of settings for this particular composition. You know, you just need all that to kind of mush up together to create that great shot. The perfect moment, of course, the perfect colors, of course, and then, or the lack of, you want to do monochrome or high key, low key photos, for instance. So it's all, and it just, I think, to me, is that you just need to understand way more than just what people tell you, you know, and most of the time. Right, let's see what you guys have talked so far. Brianna, do you think, okay, let me just close up here. Do you think Olympus will have a 20 megapixel or more sensor? Right. This is this. You're late to see a naughty step. Brianna, you're saying that if Olympus have will Olympus have a 24 megapixel sensor? Of course, I would not know for this moment in time. They may, you know, now just by looking at the current development, they have the EM1 Mark III, the EM1 5 Mark III just came out as still using this the same resolution, the 20 megapixel sensor, and would there be a 24? Quite possibly, but I don't think that they will bring in a sensor resolution upgrade until the next EM1X perhaps, because first of all, There are many reasons I would say that, though, is that sensor technology is already available for Micro Four Thirds platform. As you can see, there are a lot of rumors, a lot of not rumors, they're actual facts there that Micro Four Thirds sensors can go up to 38 megapixel, even 40 megapixels. But because Sharp's already announced last year at their around about TPS time, they already talked about a 8K video cameras. It's a video camera, not photo, but the megapixel sensor has up to over 30 megapixel. So the sensors technology is there. And also, if you read about Sony development, they have developed a Micro Four Thirds sensor, at least in that format, is capable of over 40 megapixel. So in terms of resolution, is there. But whether Panasonic and Blackmagic, Olympus, these Micro Four Thirds camera manufacturers are going to adopt the new format is entirely up to the how they see the market grow, and also what sort of support system they can get for the new sensor. And don't forget, they can't simply up the sensor without having the supported infrastructure or the supported accessory, such as lenses. A lot of lenses are great. Olympus, Panasonic lenses are really, really, really sharp, and some of them is already out resolving the current 20 megapixel, I can guarantee that. But there are some of the older lenses, especially the lower end kit lenses, for instance, or even some of the earlier premium lenses, they are designed for up to around about 20, 21, 22 megapixels. I mean, that's how I believe, and I don't have a technical proof for that particular number. I'm only saying that only because they were originally designed for the 16 megapixel sensors, and then now they're 20. I can still see that it's sharp enough to do that. And then if you up to about 24, I think some of the lenses will struggle in terms of resolving power. And that's why it's not a case of just simply upping the game to 24 megapixel. They may come to a point that they will say that, okay, I need to upgrade the entire range of the lenses, but it's not as simple as say, oh, I would just want to upgrade all of them. There's R&D involved. There's also a new manufacturing involved, and you need to create new mounts. You need to create new. When I say mount, the actual barrels and stuff like that. The molding, for instance, for the actual components and stuff. New lenses need to be developed. So it's going to be a long process. So it's all going to be a massive process. It's something that they would probably already been doing. I have no idea. They might have already done it. It's already in the pipeline somehow. I don't know. But I would guess at some point they will have a new sensor, whether going to be imminently or going to be in the medium term, like let's say 5 to 6 years. I'm not entirely sure. They will, because that's how the world is evolving, right? It's kind of pushing slightly towards the high end. Olympus is not in a rush to do that because they still favoring the portability and also the image quality, which I totally believe that they now struck the fine balance between colors, resolutions, and image quality. Yeah, that's how I use that word, image quality. And then so yeah, I think they have a perfect blend of everything now. I don't think they would need to move up for the next 2 to 3 years. That's my personal belief, because I'm quite happy with it at the moment. And because I work professionally using Micro Four Thirds at the moment, I'm really happy about the workflow that I have. It produces a very quick turnaround for my jobs. Anything over, you're going to slow me down a little bit. I need to basically upgrade my computer to cope with the extra data. I need bigger storage to store all my archives and so forth. So yeah, I would say perhaps very soon, I don't know, and let's see what happens. I'm pretty sure that if there is any new announcement, you'll be one of the first ones to know, at least for me. If I know something that's official, that can be released, and I will tell you guys straight away. And then also managed to clean the OM lenses 28 3.5, but the 51.8 got clouded. Oh, you got some haze in the elements. Yeah, once you have haze, it's gonna be a little bit difficult. There are some solutions, depending on how bad it is, may be able to correct, but you will have to take everything off, and individual elements have to clean and polish all of them individually. So it's going to be a long process. It potentially be damaging if you take out certain elements, because some of them are glued together. So you just have to be very, very careful for that. But yeah, I would like to see a 25 3.5. It's actually a pretty good lens. So And Rao said you must have a very good camera. You do need a very good camera. I think the best the thing is that whatever you feel that you're connected to, like remember the last week I talked about multiple times in different streams, and you need something that connect with you, that resonate with your passion. It doesn't really matter what brand or what shape or form, what sort of camera it is. If you feel connected to something, and that will be your camera, and that was the good camera for you. Like a lot of the times when I'm really like something like a camera, for instance, like the Pen F that I keep talking about, the EM1X, for instance, I just like, it's my workhorse. I love how it feels in my hand. It just connects with me. I can just go in and turn on the camera and just do my job and come back out and things like that. And these are good cameras, and then as long as I get the shot that I need or that I'm happy with, and it's a great cameras, full stop. So let's see right here. And Mark, you said your 15mm makes all sensor technology redundant, but it's fun. Oh dear. Okay, and if new pro lenses were required, it could be an upset that they may not recover from. Hopefully they saw it coming and have leeway up to. Well, I don't think that you need to worry too much about the pro lenses lineup, and because at least from what I can tell at the moment, it should be capable of going higher resolutions, from what I can tell anyway. I can say the older premium lenses, like the 12 f2 for instance, and this one of the lenses that I really love and like, is the size and everything. The performance is phenomenal, but I can see is probably reaching the limit of the 20 or maybe even 21, 22 megapixel kind of range. Anything over that, it may start to struggle. The pro lenses is still manageable. I think it can go up higher. I think it can go about 25, 30. But that 30 or maybe 25 will be the limit. And if you go 30, it may struggle. That's why I think they have this plan, written up, what sort of thing they can do in future developments. I'm pretty sure they already know by how internally exactly what sort of development they do. Not just about Olympus, in all other manufacturers. And you can actually see, Canon, things like that. And the reason why, okay, let's use Canon as an example. This is quite bad of them, and I'm not trying to talk bad to them, but saying that how many 7-200 L lens or the 24 to 70 2.8 L lens has been developed over the last 10 years or 12 years. 3 versions, right? Usually if you come to professional lenses, you don't see them update professional lenses for at least 8 to 10 years, and that's usually the lifespan that they have. And then they upgrade to better glass, better resolution, things like that, to accommodate for newer sensors development. But if you look at what Canon has done, since the original Mark 5D, that was 12 megapixel full frame, to now, in the latest 5D Mark IV is over 30, and then the EOS R, is gonna go higher. So like the current glass just can't support that sort of resolutions, and that's why they keep updating them. But for a lot of pros, like you mentioned, Brad, your worry is completely valid, because people who spend lots of money on buying these lenses, they weren't cheap. The Canon 7200s, the Mark II, Mark III, and then whatever, they are 1,700, 1,500, 1,800 pounds per lens. And then like now you're asking them to upgrade again, and then it's an expensive affair to do that, and I don't think it's fair for the photographer who invested so much money. But at the same time, they didn't look far enough, or they're just trying to have this megapixel raise that everybody is doing at the moment, and that is why I think Olympus, or at least in the Micro Four Thirds arena, is quite happy. And it's a happy place. They are not chasing for the resolution, even though technology is actually there. They are fairly happy only because they have this alliance. They're all sharing their lenses, their technologies, and things like that. And this is good because you have a community within Micro Four Thirds, not just about my Olympus, but Panasonic and all the other different manufacturers there. They're really happy, and we share lenses around. You can use mine, I can use yours, and we all can see different rendering, different colors with, whatever preference you may have to a certain look of the lens that can generate. It's all fine. It's actually fun to do that. They're not really trying to rush into producing higher megapixels and things like that, because once they do that, they all probably know that their lenses are all buggered, you know, and if they need to do that, or not, may not be all, but some of them would definitely, especially the lower end glass or maybe the older glasses that started from the beginning of Micro Four Thirds, for instance, those were definitely not designed for over 20 megapixels, you know, I can guarantee that. So those would need to be significantly upgraded for higher end stuff. But if they do that, most likely they're going to start with the really cheap ones. The premium lens would be last, because they will have probably looking into some of the pro lenses, maybe giving you different focal lengths, which involving high resolutions and so forth, and then just work their way down. That could happen, but I'm not entirely sure. This is purely personal opinion here, but I don't think, Brad, you should be worried too much about, you know, current developments and things like that. I'm pretty sure the 40 to 150 that you just ordered is actually fine, because it's a sharp lens. And then oh, have you got it, by the way? You know, if you got it, tell me how you get on, because that lens is super sharp, and I love that thing to bit. And Brianna also say just the EM1 Mark II is the beast. Well, it is the beast, you know, like I said, in 2020 it's still a beast. It's just an amazing camera, and full stop. So let's just give you a couple of more photos to look at, and just to see you know, what sort of thing you're looking at. So for instance, if you do a lot of like documentary stuff, and maybe even street photography sometimes, and you see pictures like this, it doesn't really matter whether you're going to use a 60 megapixels and 20 megapixels, 50 megapixels, or whether you're going to have a cheap glass or a really expensive glass. It doesn't really matter too much. You know, I think in this particular case, you're more likely to want to capture the emotions and the actual actions in the thing. And street is all about the moments, right? You know, it's not really analyzing the pixels and tonalities and things like that. It's the wrong way of looking at the photos. How often do you go to a competition, international competition? Actually, people are judging based on the tonality that you have, and you know, unless you're looking at fine art, which is a very different thing. But depending on genre of the photography, if you go into competitions for a street, for instance, and they're looking at the moment, how you capture, how you're involving the subjects, and that kind of thing they're looking at. Not so much about pixels, how sharp it is, or how much you can resolve, you know, in thing. They don't look at things like this. They're looking in more broader terms. So it's going to be something that also tells you that, you know, technically a better image quality production doesn't necessarily need that is a better image. You need, you know, still need your brain, your eyes, and your heart to produce great work. That is, for me, is the image quality. It's your brain, your eyes, and your heart, and not so much about the gears and that you're taking. You know, once you have that heart going on, your passion, you know, it shows in your photograph. Once you have that eyes, you can see the composition, you can see the light better. Once you have the brain, you know when to execute. You know, everything works together as one unit, and then combine with the perfect gear that you have, and then that will produce the really great photograph that you always wanted. And that's exactly how this conversation about image quality is not so much about gear, it's more about here, and then and that's the image quality you're seeing right here. It's actually yourself, and so it's hopefully you kind of make sense of that, and don't try to you know, believe too much in what the marketing people always tells you, you know, and because this is another thing I think that Olympus is actually quite good at doing. So, you know, they don't always try to talk too much about image quality, because they are actually good, but they also more talk about features, which is features something that if you understand better, and that you actually appreciate the feature that may be relating to your type of photography. For instance, like starry sky is great for astrophotography, nighttime photography, for instance. And these are features that will enhance or get you better at taking those particular shots, or make it easier if you're just starting out, for instance. And Pro Capture can get you that moment that you want. These are features, you know, not necessarily translate into better quality of image, because you as a photographer still have to execute that shot. So that is what it is. You won't worry, I'm done. You're done, Ralph. And Mark, what do we need more resolution for? Sharper portrait that shows, and more imperfection landscape. Well, that's solely depending on your subjects, of course, and there are cases that people may want sharper photos for portraits, and then they touch up the hell out of it, which happens a lot these days. Because imagine a lot of the magazine they use, they are, because they need to print big, like I mean really big for billboards and stuff like that, and they would employ 100 megapixel, 80 megapixel medium format cameras, and they can really see every pore and every hair on the face. As a retoucher, they will have to really, really work hard on those shots, and that is something that I think is pushing a little bit too much. But they need that, and then because they need to print that sort of size on the building, things like that. But for 99% of photographers out there, they don't need to do that, or they don't really want that extra work. To be quite honest, I think for me, a good face is a good face, right? As what Rao just said, you need a good face. And but I personally don't like to touch up faces a lot. If I shoot a lady, I want to shoot how she looks in front of me, how she is in front of me. Same as the family and things like that. I don't really want to touch unless they really specifically tell me that, oh, I got really bad skin day today, I got a really big spot here, can you do something about it? If they specifically ask for that, if it's not too much of work, let's say just 1 or 2 spots, fine, I'll do the 1 or 2 spots. But if it's really, really bad, like let's say having some sort of episodes going on, I will actually reschedule a shoot. I would say, okay, I'm not going to do that because it's going to cost me too much time and effort to do it. And I'd rather you come back at a time that you feel better, because I want you to feel better, because otherwise, even though that I can touch up for you, even though that I technically can clean up everything for you, but you don't feel confident, because this is you, like I need you to be confident in front of my camera. And so like they understand, they really truly appreciate, then they walk back and they say, okay, let's reschedule the shoot, let my skin die down a little bit, and it will be better, and they come up and do a shoot again. That's always something I would tell my clients. And let's see. you got your you got 60 for your birthday. Wow. And your wife confiscated the unit until the actual day. Oh dear me, so you can't use it. You see it coming, but it's just not there yet. You love the macro. You love the 60 macro. It's a phenomenal lens. That I love that lens a lot, and truly is a very versatile, even though it's labeled as a macro lens, but it's actually a you can do a lot of portrait with that lens as well, because it's 120mm in full frame, so it's actually a very good distance for portrait shots. And at 2.8 it's relatively fast enough to be honest, and then to most cases, apart from the really tricky, very dim environment, for 2.8 is plenty. And because it's a macro lens, it has the versatility of going really up close, and also being a macro lens, you've got high resolving power, and this is one of those lenses that can resolve way more than 30 megapixel. I'm telling you, this lens is super sharp. So I don't think this lens is being updated in quite a few years, because this lens can resolve. So, but this is one of the good things about macro lenses, and that is also why you see a lot of the manufacturer out there. A lot of their macro lenses are very old, simply because they can resolve power, and then they have these amazing abilities to just make everything so sharp, just because they can see things that sharp, and because they're designed to look up really close, look at every hair and details and things like that. That's why when Canon or Nikon, whatever, they upgraded the sensor to like 40-50 megapixels, they don't need to upgrade the macro lenses, because they can still resolve that sort of power, that sort of resolution. That's how good macro lenses are. So if you really want something that can last, one of these macro lenses, the 60 in particular, is just amazing lens. So it's worth investing, definitely worth getting one. I have one, I use it a lot for other things, not necessarily for bugs, because I'm not really a bug person, but I use for other detail shots and things like that. It's just amazing. Like the video that I just done, and on video, so on YouTube, that the Laowa 9mm, all the B-rolls that you see are shot with the 33.5 macro lens, and it's really good, right? It's actually very sharp. You can see how good a macro lens is. Okay, then let's see what Brad is saying. The free Olympus tutorials recently have been great and encouraging us to try all the features. Try the light painting. Oh, you tried it with who did you do it with? I can't remember now. And the Pro Capture was from Claire Harvey May, right? It's really fun. It's really fun, and I think Olympus UK has done a really grand job and in having all these free tutorials going on at the moment, and you really can finally take the camera and practice all sort of features that you only hear about but don't see much actions of it. But now you got the final chance to actually see, finally you get this chance to actually see all these live stuff going on and can practice with them as well. So it's fantastic. If you haven't tuned in, because the page is obviously public, so you can join the Olympus UK page and you see all these live tutorials, videos, and you'll be amazed. Gavin Huey's there, do all kinds of stuff there, and yeah, it's absolutely amazing. And hope that day is coming soon. Thank you, Rob, about rescheduling. Yes, I mean, like I said, you really need to make sure that your client is happy, you know, and especially, you know, as a portrait photographer like myself, I want to see happiness from their faces. I mean, unless I want to go for moody shots, and but otherwise, it's confidence. The confidence is something that you cannot manufacture. It's very hard. For any portraits, what's important is looking into their eyes. You know, if the eyes tell you something, you immediately know that whether what sort of mood he or she really is in at that moment in time. So if I shoot a photo, I can see the eyes not confident, not something. It tells straight away, no matter how technically perfect I capture that shot, it just won't look good because the eyes tells you so much story there, and that is why that, you know, if he or she just not confident about skin issues or whatever, please just come back another time. You know, I'm here, you pay me already, you know, I'm happy to reschedule the shoot for you. Don't rush. You know, I want you to look good. You know, I really want you to look good, and just don't rush into this because you book me, you pay me. It doesn't really matter. I'm here. I'm always here, and so just reschedule. I want you to look the best that you are, and then I can give you the best shots ever. And that's always how to tell my clients, and they truly appreciate that sort of thing. So that is good. July the 6th. Well, happy birthday, or kind of like an advance happy birthday for you. 6th of July, yeah. Martin Wee, I get the only 17mm. What do you think about this lens? Great stuff. It's a great lens, and then the 17 is fantastic. Whether you go for the 1.8 or the 1.2 version, these two lenses are phenomenal. The 1.2, of course, is much bigger, much heavier, much more expensive, but it comes also with really amazing wide open performances at 1.2. The feather bowl cut is just amazing. The subject isolation is just really good for Micro Four Third. Very versatile. Of course, you know, being a pro lens, you've got the metal built body, also the 3 proofs there, the dust freeze and splash proof. The 1.8 version also very good, as sharp as the pro lenses, but only at 1.8. There is tiny little bit of fringings, but you know, it's not something you should be too worried about. And it still had the manual cut, full metal construction, but I think the plus size of the 1.8 is size. It's so small, it's tiny, it's very discreet if you do a lot of street shooting, for instance, and then if you mount it on smaller body like the EM5 Mark III or the Pen F, you know, or anything that kind of similar size, EM10 for instance, is really good complement to the Micro Four Third compact essence. So this is really good. So you don't have to worry about which version. I think it's actually good. Oh, you don't accept 1.8 anyway. That's good. Yeah, it's really nice lens. I have the silver version, and I kind of regretted it. I should have gone for the black version. And I like either, independent of what sort of body I have, because I have a lot of black cameras, you know. I do have a couple of silver bodies, but I mostly have black, so I think it just looks better, you know, with black on black rather than black on silver. And I mean, like silver on black. Yeah, put it the other way around. Okay. So you have the 12 to 40 at the moment. Yeah, that's a good lens. That's a 2.8, right? And that is I have one right here somewhere, and yep, I have it right here, and have this is the 12 to 12 to 40, and it is a very versatile lens. And of course, probably a lot of the Micro Four Third, at least Olympus people, would have one of these lenses. But this has been one of the best selling lenses in the Olympus lineup, because it's, first of all, it's versatile. It's having this range 12 to 40, and also constant 2.8 aperture, having a pro build quality, has this manual clutch here, which you can do manual focusings, and that's particularly useful for a lot of filmmakers and videographers who use GH5s, even the Blackmagic. So it's all really good there, and it's sharp. This thing is sharp, right? It's actually really good. And Ralph here says, don't care about the lens. You want a rectangle hood. This hood, this is really good. Right, actually using another one here. I'm going to take out the hood from this one. And you like this hood. I like this hood too. Like, this is the square hood from Olympus actually. This is actually official Olympus hood. It's the LH48. That's the part number for Olympus. I don't know if you can actually see that. That is, oh, there you go. Yep, you can see that hood there. Yeah, this is a really great hood, and I love it. And they have both in silver or black version. Of course, I have a black lens. I have the black hood, but it's good. It's a really nice looking hood, right? It just looks sexy, especially if you want to use it on you know, like street cameras like the EM5 series, or even like the EM10 or the Pen F, you know, it just looks extra good on them. I think they've done a great job designing this lens hood. I think that's why every time I take this lens out with the hood, yeah, so many people just stop and ask me, "God, that's a good looking lens." Seriously, they actually said that. They actually said that's a good looking lens. I think it's more to do with the hood. The hood makes the overall look just that extra bit better, right? No matter what you throw in this lens to, you know, it just looks good. And then and that's why I think the 12 to me is still one of my favorite lenses. And then and not only it really does perform well, but also it just looks good. It just really looks good. It makes all my Olympus camera look just extra sexy, even though that I shouldn't say sexy in cameras. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'm using it on your Blackmagic. Oh, there you go, exactly right. So this is really good. So the 17-1.8 is good because you can get subject separation quite easily with the 1.8, and also being small size, that means you can throw it onto a gimbal, right, as well if you're using gimbal. And it's just having the really good balance there. It's not front heavy or anything like. If you use 17-1.2, which I have it right here on my Pen F, and you can see that this is just you know, a bit more chunkier. It's definitely more heavy compared to the 17-1.8. You know, if you hold the camera like that, it's definitely feel a little bit front heavy. So when you put it on the gimbal, you're shooting film, you know, you have to constantly adjust to it. But having said that, the Blackmagic is quite a big camera anyway compared to, of course, the Pen F or other smaller camera like the EM5. You may be actually okay with the 1.2 version if you're ever going to upgrade to a faster version. So you should be okay with that. But with the 1.8, it's definitely a bonus, being such a small lens and lightweight body, and image quality is actually very sharp as well. And yeah, I think you'll be quite happy with it for sure. And having a manual clutch, it's good for manual focusing, just like the 12 to 40. Phenomenal. Great stuff. Well, thank you guys. And is there any other pictures I want to show you? And probably not. I think I'm done with that today. I'm really happy, and I'm still happy. I'm just having this happy moment of my life. I don't know why. It's just this, even though it's not a particularly sunny day today, but I'm quite genuinely feeling a little bit of a positive energy aura just surrounding me at the moment. I've got this, ooh, something going on. I don't know. Maybe I have drugs. Maybe someone dropped my ice cream that I had yesterday. I don't know. It just feels good. Awesome. Well, thank you. And oh, okay. One last one here. And Brad just mentioned something. Why don't we have sensors to match the optics? Space saving, more crop options. Right. That never really happened, to be honest, in the history of photography, and because you have a format, you have sensor, and the lens is designed around it. Usually, for that particular sensor site, it's easier to do it that way than you having a sensor matching the optics. You may be able to do that with a point and shoot camera, for instance, because it's a one-off. If you start having to change lenses, it's a task to do that, because they always do it the other way around. They fix the sensor and they design lenses around them if it's changeable. If it's not, perhaps they will design a lens specifically for that sensor, just like the RX100, just like a lot of the fixed lens camera, like the Fuji X100 series, or the you know, I don't know, any other thing, similar thing, the Ricoh GRD. They are very similar. Because there's not changeable lenses, they can design the lens for the sensor, or having the sensor matching the actual the optics itself. Yes, it is better, but they only apply to a fixed lens camera, so you can't change them. Because once you start changing it, it complicates the whole issues, like to a different scale. It's just impossible to do that. So it's a lot easier to do it the other way around. And Rao, you just booked some shoot. Hey, well done. Cool, awesome, happy for you, mate. That's really good. And excellent stuff. So I'm going to end my shoot. It's already it's already a little bit longer than usual. It's already 11:50, which I should have ended my talk 20 minutes ago. But it's good. I'm having fun talking to you guys, and thank you for joining me. Once again, I'm just happy to see all of you joining in and talk about things. And tomorrow I'm going to have another brand new subjects, of course. If you have anything specific you want to talk about, don't forget to leave me some comments or private message me and talk about things. And just like last week, someone wanted to talk about raw management. I did that on Friday. So if you missed any of my previous Facebook live stream, it's on my personal channel, so you can see the link in the description, so you can click onto it. You can subscribe to the channel. You can see anything that I'm going to put up in the future. I haven't put up any actual content there yet. At the moment, it's all filled up with all my Facebook live archive, but if you miss anything, it's all right there. But in the future, yes, I will start loading up some contents, and there's going to be some fun stuff, hopefully. Still trying to figure out what does it mean by fun. It's gonna be good. So on Wednesday, of course, if you guys don't know me or been new here, Wednesday I have my YouTube live as well at 3 p.m. BST, British Summer Time, and 3 p.m. London time, so you can just check it out. You can come and join me as well. I'm going to post the topics for Wednesday, either today or tomorrow morning on my YouTube community post, or also maybe post it on here, my personal page, so you can see what we're going to discuss. So you're happy to contribute and to join me in for a fun chat. Usually I talk a lot as well in that thing, and I used to talk about like an hour and a half minimum, and sometimes go up to just over 2 hours, and yeah, by the end of it I won't be able to talk. But that's normal, and I kind of enjoy that. Call me a chatterbox. And you know what? Just one fun fact for you guys. My daughter yesterday called me, and oh, Daddy, you are an Olympus guy, right? Yes, I am. You have a lot of Olympus camera. Yes, I have. I know. You are a famous Olympus talker. Okay. I'm starting to get a bit worried now, so I think I'm getting a bit distracted now since I've been doing a lot of live stream these days. So my daughter associate me not as a photographer or filmmaker, but as a talker. Maybe I should relabel myself now to be an Olympus talker. That's how I would do it. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye for now.